I hope that nobody has the path that I do. I hope that everybody has a path that's different for them. And that's what I've learned so much in this industry, and probably just like being an adult, is we're so fed this idea that, okay, to be a successful this thing, you A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then if you're lucky, you can get there. And I think that I've learned more and more that navigating your own sort of path of yeses and also boundaries of no's is really when you feel very fulfilled in whatever you're doing. One of the things that drew me to Beef, the Netflix series that just came out, was that I had never seen the Korean American church life that I grew up with, and just even reading that. So in Ann Arbor, really my only access to an Asian community was in our Korean American church there. But it was very much like I would go there on Sundays. Me and my younger sister Audrey weren't completely fluent in Korean, and I had a very different community there than I did at school and in the rest of my life, and especially growing up doing, theater and the arts and choir and everything. I realize now as an adult that I really was one of very few, if any, other Asians. To be frank, all of my acting role models were not Asian because there weren't really any. Of course, there is I remember watching Lucy Liu and Charlie's Angels and be like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that we could be in that category, And Sandra Oh too. I was a Broadway kid, so I, looked up to all of the iconic Broadway divas and such like that. And I realized once I got into the Broadway world, oh wow, the people that I looked up to, have nothing of my same experience or look like me. But for me, it was just I was very happy to pursue that world. I think that, to be candid and honest, when I did Mean Girls on Broadway, and having a lot of people relate to that character of Gretchen Wieners, but also especially a lot of young Asian American performers who hadn't seen somebody get the opportunity that I worked for in especially the Broadway world, to have them come up and say thank you, or you're a role model. At first I felt very intimidated and undeserving of that, because for me, I was oh, that feels very, that's so selfless of somebody to be a role model. And I felt very much oh, I'm just trying to do the best job and get another job and do the best job that I can. And then in the same way that being a cancer survivor, when people first call, you're a hero for surviving, I'm well, that was probably the most selfish time of my life, because I had to have everybody I care about and myself only thinking about me, and I really don't like that. So, but then I realized, oh, in the same way with cancer, surviving that and then working hard to thrive and be happy after that is an inspiration for people. So quickly, especially when Emily in Paris came around, I became very, very honored, humbled, and grateful to have that opportunity to be a role model for people, or just to show people that that's a part of life that they had access to. Just because it was really just not even blind optimism, but just a happy-go-lucky spirit that I probably inherited from my parents, of just I'm going to try my best, and if the reality of this or that feels like it's some sort of rejection or some sort of discrimination or some sort of pushing down, there's got to be a way up, and I'm going to find it. You're lonely, you text me, we have dinner. I'm Mindy. For me, mostly with Emily in Paris, is having a lot of people from all walks of life and all backgrounds, all ages, all demographics come up and say, oh my gosh, you're the best friend I always wanted, or that's, that characterization. For me, that felt important, just because any sort of unfamiliarity people have with people who don't look like them or anything like that, as soon as you kind of break that down and just offer a full human of a character, and they feel familiar and warm and happy and musical and all these different things with somebody, they'll always associate a face like that with someone who can be a friend of theirs. The wonderful thing about Paris is that nobody judges you for doing nothing. It's practically an art form here. I signed on, I'd never been to Paris, just so excited to work with Lily in the world of Darren Star and Patricia Field, and I was just so excited about that job in general. But I signed on, there was a pilot written, and expecting to have one scene an episode, and to be there to support the character of Emily. And I think a big want to acknowledge, like, I think a big reason, first of all, is like a testament to the writers for being like, oh, this is a fun world, and this is a great character. And it's a really beautiful marriage of collaboration between like writers and directors and like what I brought to the table. But I think also, like, I don't think that if Lily Collins wasn't like a gem of a person, and if we weren't best friends, that would have an organic, Mindy's role would feel organically something that you could really beef up, you know? I think that's really such a beautiful central part of that show, and why I feel so genuinely happy to be a part of it is that's a real female friendship and sisterhood, and you watch it grow and you watch them become each other's homes, and it very much mirrored me and Lily, and I think that they were very inspired by that. With Beef, well, I think I was really excited about that role because Mindy has put me in this like lovely category where a lot of people in the industry trust me to play this character that you can really trust, and with humor and such. I was really interested in playing a character or finding some truth in a role that is basically an antagonist for, you know, one of the leads, Ali Wong's character.
I just can't understand what those people are so angry about. Oh, well, you know, I mean, most people don't understand that. Anger is just a transitory state of consciousness.
I love that. I thought it was funny too, because I was really excited to work on something with the, you know, Korean showrunner, Sunny Lee, and with Steve and with Ali. And then most of my scenes are not with the Korean people. Almost none of them are. So I was like, oh, okay. But it was interesting. Like for me, whatever character I play, I have to feel like there's some sort of like truth that lies on my spine. It was just like really trying to figure out, first of all, what was going on in the whole season, because there's a lot of stuff, but also just like making sure that she never felt like a caricature, like really trying to figure out what her intentions were in each scene, were in the scope of the whole season.
The Chosen Ones Incorporated is owned by Isaac Cho. He's the cousin of Daniel Cho, the man with whom you're having an affair.
Beef, I mean, I got the episodes in chunks. So I remember I got the episodes 5, 6, 7, I was reading, I was like, wait, what? What? Because I auditioned with the scene with me and Ali, I think in episode 2, just like having tea and coffee and having so much of that be unspoken, subtext, emotionally charged. And I was so excited to have those kinds of scenes. But then once we got towards the end, I was like, whoa, wait, what is the tone of the show? What's happening? And I realized that was kind of like my inside joke with Sunny and the directors Jake and Hikari. And I think I realized by the end, oh, like, I realized that maybe this is just like creating its own kind of genre. I filmed Joyride, and then I filmed Beef, and then I went and filmed a 3rd season of Emily in Paris. So for me, progression feels like it's like climb, but they all feel so different to me. It's like when someone asks, like, what was your favorite thing to work on? And it's like, I hope that everything was my favorite thing at that time with those people.
Oh my God, that was so good! You're such a big shot! Oh, come on, you are the big shot, you big shot lawyer! Best friends reunited!
When writing's really good, I find that I get a script and I'm like already kind of like imagining it in my head and how I would act things and how certain things would happen. And I just got so used to not doing that for myself when reading a script and not doing that for myself for the lead character. So in Joyride, once I kind of figured that out, I also just felt like, oh, there's so many parts of this character I understand her. And the friendship, of course, too, I love that. That's so central to, I think that's why this movie, I'm very proud of it and it's very special, is that it's so, as rated R as it is, it's so wholesome in some ways, you know? It's very, it has very broad and specific strokes across like the entire spectrum of like friendships and like identity and growth as a person. So like, I think that filming this with like 3 people that I love very much too, like there's nothing like that kind of friendship, and you see it reflected on the screen too. But I don't know, I loved having so much like heart and friendship in the center of this comedy that was holding nothing back in terms of all the other elements. was just the first time I got to really understand and feel like, first of all, what it is to be a protagonist in your own story. And that was very married with like me figuring that in my own life. You know, I can find value in being there, just not in a selfish way, but for yourself and your own story, and like being very adamant about what I find to be good and true and worthwhile as well. So I think that, I mean, Joyride was just such a blast to film. Like we really, it was the first time too for me that I was surrounded by and led by and supported by and eating every meal with all Asian people, you know? And so that for me really, because before that I always thought, oh, you know, if someone walks away from a show I do or something they see me in or anything and they forget that I'm Asian, I used to take that as a huge compliment, you know? Be like, oh great, like they saw me as a full human. They're like, oh, she was so good in this part, or she does this well, or she's so smart, she's nice, or whatever it is, or funny. I was like, I'm never gonna have those elements be recognized in me if they think I'm Asian, or if they see that I'm Asian. And I think Joyride was really the beginning of, and including why I was like, I need to be part of Beef. I don't care what role it is, I don't care how, because I was like, oh, now the rhetoric for myself is that like, I hope they see all these elements of a real human and how I can bring that to the table, and don't forget that I'm Asian.
I sometimes fantasize about Splinter. He's Asian.
He's a rat.
He's a good father.
This movie is, I really feel, is like with the writing and the how it was done and act and everything, it just like feels like that caliber of what we love in that kind of comedy, that everyone walks away really like loving, and it just happens to be people who look like us. And it's just like, I never thought that that would exist. And I think someone said on, you know, on set, like, oh man, is this a dream come true? And I was like, of course, but it's not even a dream that I ever thought to have. Like, that's what it is, you know? It's not like, oh, this isn't a dream come true. Of course, this is like, I'm surrounded by people I love. This is supported by a studio like Lionsgate and Point Grey, and doing something that I feel very comfortable and ready to do. I think I was really ready when I turned 30 to be able to like use what I've learned as a human, as a performer, as a storyteller, as just like everything to like lead something. I'm really excited to be in conversations with people that I really like look up to and love, and who want to work with me. And so I think I'm really excited about stuff that I have coming up. I'm filming something right now that I couldn't have asked for a better script, director, character, role, cast. And so I think I'm just really excited to just have a certain standard of quality for the people and the projects and the roles that I want to work with now that I've done this. And yeah, whatever I have next, you know, like could have never imagined Joyride for myself. So like really just excited to do whatever comes next.